I'm Anna, I'm 27, and today is my law school graduation. From the podium, I can see them perfectly. My family, front row center. My mother, Helen, is beaming, her phone held high, already taking a selfie. My father, Robert, is next to her, patting her back, looking proud, and my twin sister, Sara, is waving at me, her smile as bright and effortless as always. They look like the perfect, supportive family, thrilled to be here to watch me give my valedictorian speech. They think they're here to watch me succeed. They think they're just here to celebrate. They have no idea they are really here to listen. They don't know this entire auditorium is about to learn how I succeeded, that their quiet, lifelong betrayal is about to go public. Before we dive in, have you ever felt like the invisible one in your own family? The one who just works? Let me know your story down in the comments, and tell me where in the world you're listening from right now. In our family, I was the workhorse. My twin sister, Sara, was the show pony. This wasn't a choice, it was a job I was given. I was born 3 minutes before her, and I think in those 3 minutes, my parents, Helen and Robert, decided I was the responsible one, the strong one. I learned the difference when we were 6. I was climbing the big oak tree in our backyard, trying to see over the neighbor's fence. I was always trying to see something beyond our yard. I went one branch too high. I heard the sharp crack of the wood. Then, that feeling of weightlessness. Just air. I fell hard. I hit the ground and my knee split open on a rock. It wasn't a scrape, it was a cut, deep, white, and already filling with blood. The kind of cut that scares you, that makes your stomach turn. I limped inside, crying. I was trying to be quiet, but I couldn't help it. I was leaving a trail of muddy, bloody dots on the clean kitchen tile. My mother, Helen, was at the counter, chopping carrots. She turned around. She didn't gasp. She didn't run to me. She didn't drop the knife. She just sighed. A long, tired sigh. The sigh of inconvenience. "Oh, Anna," she said. Her voice wasn't mean. It was just flat. Empty. "Look at this mess." She walked over, tore a single paper towel from the roll, and opened a drawer. She pulled out one Band-Aid. A tiny, flesh-colored strip. For a cut that needed stitches. She handed them to me. No comfort, no hug, just an order. "Go to the bathroom," she said. "You're a strong girl. Clean yourself up." There it was, the job title. You're the strong girl. And I did. I did it myself. I went to the bathroom. Alone. I locked the door. I sat on the cold edge of the porcelain tub, my legs shaking. I turned on the tap. I remember the smell of the antiseptic soap, sharp and chemical. I poured it onto the paper towel, and when it hit the open cut, fire. A white-hot, screaming sting that shot all the way up my leg. I bit my lip. Hard. I tasted the copper tang of my own blood, anything to stop screaming. I scrubbed the dirt and gravel and bits of bark out of my own knee. My own 6-year-old hands, doing the job my mother wouldn't. I was strong. I had to be. What other choice was there? The lesson was clear. But the final exam came 2 weeks later. Sara was sitting on the sofa, watching cartoons. She sniffled. One tiny, delicate, pathetic little sniffle. The house exploded. My mother heard it from the kitchen. She dropped what she was doing, a pan clattered to the floor. My father, Robert, looked up from his newspaper. They both ran over, not walked, ran. "Oh, my poor baby," Mom cooed, wrapping Sara in a thick, soft blanket from the dryer. "Robert, get the orange juice. Do you need a pillow? Are you cold? Are you okay?" My dad came running back, not with a paper towel, with a glass of orange juice and the thermometer. He put his hand on her forehead, his face wrinkled with worry. "You're burning up," he said. She wasn't. I just stood in the doorway, quiet, invisible. My knee still had a big, puffy purple scab on it, a scar I would have for the rest of my life. I looked at Sara, buried in blankets, sipping her juice, being adored for having a runny nose. And I finally understood. I got a paper towel. She got a throne. This was how it would always be. Sara was the show pony, meant to be admired, protected, and displayed. I was the workhorse, meant to be durable, reliable, self-sufficient. Nobody ever praises a tractor for running. They just expect it to. That dynamic wasn't just in our heads, my parents physically built it into the walls of our home. When we turned 13, my mother, Helen, decided to redecorate our rooms, or, more accurately, Sarah's room. Sara got the bigger bedroom, the one with the large window overlooking the garden. My mother spent a month on it. It was painted a soft, perfect shade of pink. She got a new white bed frame, one of those four-poster ones that looked like it was for a princess. She got a matching white vanity with a big mirror and little lights around it. New curtains. A new, plush rug. It looked like a page from a magazine. It was a room designed for display. And me? I was moved into the attic room. The attic. It was the forgotten space, the box storage unit they'd thrown a bed into. The walls were a dull, flat beige. The ceiling slanted so I could only stand up straight in one half of the room. It was freezing in the winter. I'd have to sleep in a sweatshirt, and I could see my breath. And in the summer, it was boiling, a suffocating, stagnant heat that baked into the walls. The air was always stale, smelling faintly of dust and old memories. I lived there for a month before I finally got the courage to ask. I found my mom in the kitchen, admiring a new vase Sara had picked out. "Mom? She said, not looking up. I was wondering, could I maybe paint my room? Just a can of paint, I'll do it all myself. Maybe a light blue?" She finally looked up from the vase. And her expression wasn't angry, it was just, it confused. Genuinely, baffled. "Why?" she asked. That one word, why. It's beige," I said, my voice getting small. "Anna," she said, starting to sound annoyed. "It's a room, isn't it? It has a bed, it has a desk. What more do you need? Don't make problems." I backed out of the room. The question itself was the answer. Sarah's room was for living. My room was for storage. But the real symbol, the one that left a scar just as deep as the one on my knee, that came when we turned 18. High school graduation. I woke up to the sound of my parents singing happy birthday outside my door. They were walking right past the attic stairs, heading for Sarah's room. I heard her door open. I heard them shower her with kisses. "Come on, sweetie, we have a surprise for you. Get dressed, blindfold on." I followed them down the stairs, quiet as a shadow. They led a blindfolded, giggling Sara out the front door and onto the driveway. And there it was, a brand new, gleaming white SUV. It was gleaming. The sunlight bounced off the chrome. On the hood was a giant, ridiculous, shiny red bow. Sara tore off the blindfold. She screamed. It was a high-pitched, movie star scream. She launched herself into our dad's arms. My mom, Helen, was already crying. Real tears of joy, streaming down her face. "You deserve it, sweetie," she wept. "You just deserve it." It was a perfect family moment. I was just standing on the porch, watching. Then my father, Robert, turned to me. He had a big, satisfied smile on his face. He jingled another, smaller set of keys. "And for you, Anna," he said, like he hadn't forgotten. He pointed to the curb. It was the old family sedan, the 5-year-old one, the one with 180,000 miles, the one with the long, deep dent in the passenger door from where my dad had hit a pole 3 years ago. The one where the check engine light had been on, glowing a dull, angry orange, since 2012. I looked at her brand new 6-speaker sunroof-having SUV. I looked at my rattling, 5-year-old, hand-me-down. My throat felt tight. I couldn't breathe. "Thank you," I whispered. It was all I could get out. My father, Mark, just clapped me hard on the shoulder. So hard it almost hurt. "It builds character, kid," he said, as if he were giving me a gift. "You're the strong one, after all." The divide between us only got wider in college. The character-building car rattled me to my classes, to my part-time job, and to the library, where I lived. I graduated as valedictorian of the pre-law program. Sara, in her new SUV, coasted. She made it through the communications program with a solid C+ average, mostly, as she put it, by networking. We all sat down at the kitchen table to discuss the future. It was the summer after graduation. It felt less like a family meeting and more like a shareholders report, and I was about to find out my stock was worthless. My mother, Helen, started, clapping her hands together, her face bright. Well, first a little celebration. I knew this tone. It was never for me. We're sending Sara to Europe for 6 weeks, just to travel, find some inspiration before she has to get a real job. Sara squealed, already grabbing her phone to look up flights to Paris. Oh my God, thank you, thank you. I so need this. My father, Robert, smiled. That soft, proud smile he only ever used for her. You've earned it, sweetheart. You're our little social butterfly. A social butterfly, pretty to look at, brings joy, and doesn't do a single useful thing. Then the table went quiet. The air chilled. All eyes turned to me. The celebration was over. Now, business. My father's voice shifted. The warmth was gone. It became serious, harder, like he was talking to a colleague, not his daughter. And Anna, law school, that's the plan, right? It is, I said, keeping my voice steady. I had my presentation ready. I'd practiced it. I've been accepted to my first choice. But the tuition is more than my scholarships cover. I'll need you to co-sign the student loans. I paused, taking a breath. This was the hard part. And there's one other thing. To keep the dean's scholarship, I have to pass the bar exam on the first try. There's a mandatory prep course. It's expensive. It's $2,500. Silence. My mother's smile tightened. Just a little, at the corners. My father just nodded, very slowly, steepling his fingers. $2,500, he repeated. Just the number. Not, oh wow, or congratulations. He said it like I'd just presented a bad investment, like I'd just asked for $1 million. Let us talk it over, Anna, he said finally. We'll let you know. That night, I was heading down from my attic room to get a glass of water. It was late. The house was dark. I walked past their bedroom. The door was open. Just a crack. And I heard them talking. I heard my name. I stopped, my hand on the wall. I didn't breathe. It was my father's voice. Low. Frustrated. It's just too expensive, Helen, he said. Law school is a huge risk. What if she doesn't make it? What if she doesn't make it? Not she'll be a great lawyer. Just risk. Then, my mother's sigh, that long, tired sound I knew so well, the "you are a problem" sigh. And Sara, she said. Sara really needs that deposit for her new apartment downtown. You know, she's no good with money, Robert. Her image, her social life. It's important for her future. My education was a risk. Sara's image was an investment. There was a long silence. I could hear the ice cubes clinking in my father's glass. Then he said the words that finally severed the last, thin thread. You're right, he said. We'll cover Sara's deposit. As for Anna, Anna's smart, she's strong, she'll figure it out. I stood there in the dark hallway, my hand gripping the doorframe. And I finally understood. It's a strange and cruel thing that happens in some families. It's called parental role assignment. It's a psychological trap. One child is assigned the role of the needy one, the show pony. They are seen as delicate, creative, and needing constant support. Every normal effort they make is celebrated as a massive achievement. And the other child. The other child is assigned the role of the competent one. The workhorse. They don't call you this as a compliment. They call you strong and independent and smart as a justification for neglect. It's their permission slip to leave you alone. It's the excuse they use to absolve themselves of the responsibility of caring for you. My strength wasn't a gift, it was my burden. My competence was my punishment. I was the workhorse. And I was finally realizing I was on my own. My first year of law school wasn't a life, it was a ghost story. And I was the ghost. I was a ghost who haunted the hallways of the university law firm, a ghost who sat in the back of lecture halls. By day, I was a student. I sat in the back row of a cavernous lecture hall, the professor a tiny dot in the distance, his voice droning on about constitutional law. I tried to absorb the complexities of the Commerce Clause while my eyes burned. I was so tired, the words on the page would start to swim, blurring into meaningless black lines. I'd dig my nails into my palms just to stay awake. But the real haunting began at night. By night, I was a night shift paralegal at a downtown firm. My shift was 11 p.m. to 7 a.m. While the city slept, I was in a fluorescent-lit basement room, doing document review. Click, click, click. I'd stare at a screen, my eyes dry and aching, reading thousands of pages of emails and contracts, looking for a single keyword: relevant, not relevant, privileged, for 8 hours. I restocked supplies in the copy room. I proofread briefs for lawyers I would never meet. I walked the same plush-carpeted hallways I would one day walk as an attorney. But I was invisible. I was the 3 a.m. ghost, breathing in the smell of stale coffee and industrial carpet cleaner, and the only people who ever saw me were the cleaning crew. On weekends, the haunting just moved locations. I had a second job, a waitress at a busy brunch spot. I'd pull on the black apron, paste on that fake, bright smile, and run for 8-hour shifts. More coffee? Absolutely. Right away. My feet ached. They were a special kind of pain, a deep, throbbing misery that shot up from my heels to my lower back. I'd eat leftover cold fries in the break room, standing up, counting the $30 in tips. It was never enough. I was a machine made of cheap coffee, adrenaline, and a cold, simmering rage. But the machine was breaking down. I was in my final year. The bar exam, the test that would decide my entire future, was in 3 weeks. And the mandatory $2,500 prep course, the one I had to take to even have a chance at passing, the one my scholarship required me to pass on the first try. It was starting. And I didn't have the money. I was $2,500 short. I was going to fail. After all of it, after the attic room, after the 5-year-old car, after the double shifts, the ghost in the library, the aching feet, the burning eyes. After all that climbing, I was going to be kicked out of law school. Not because I wasn't smart enough, not because I didn't work hard enough, but because I was $2,500 short. I sat in my tiny, cold apartment. It was just a room, really, not much better than the attic. I stared at the wall, at a crack in the plaster that looked like a spider web. The machine had stopped. The rage was gone. The adrenaline was gone. There was just this cold, hollow feeling. And one last, stupid, flickering ember of hope. The hope that if I begged, if I finally, truly showed them I was broken, if I stopped being the strong one, they would finally see me. They would have to. My hands were shaking, not a little tremor. They were shaking. I looked down at my phone, and I couldn't seem to press the numbers right. I had to dial twice. I put the phone to my ear, my heart hammering against my ribs so hard it almost hurt. It rang once, twice. My mother, Helen, answered. Her voice was breezy. Happy, like sunshine. Anna, what a surprise. We never hear from you. How's school? That cheerfulness. It was a slap in the face. She had no idea. She never had any idea. My voice came out small, weak. I hated it. Hi, Mom. School is. It's hard. Mom, I'm in trouble. Her tone changed. It was instant. It was a light switch flipping off. The sunshine was gone. Now, it was ice. What kind of trouble? She snapped. Her voice was sharp, accusatory. What did you do? No, I didn't. It's not. It's tuition. It's the bar prep course. The words tumbled out, clumsy and desperate. Shame was burning my throat, making it hard to breathe. I'm short, Mom. I'm $2,500 short. I just need a loan. I swear I'll pay you back. I'll pay you back with my first paycheck. I can't do it. I'm going to be dropped from my classes if I can't pay for this. There was a long silence on the other end. It was so quiet. I could hear the TV in the background at her house, a sitcom, canned laughter, people laughing on a show, while my life was falling apart. Finally, she spoke, and her voice, it was so tired. Not tired for me. Tired of me. It was the "you are a problem" voice. Anna, you're talking about money again. Again. Like I was a broken record. Like this was my hobby. You know, she continued, her voice gaining a little strength. Your father and I are very, very busy helping Sara get settled in her new apartment. She needs us right now. You've always figured these things out. I can't figure this out, Mom. The words ripped out of me. The last bit of strong Anna was gone. This time I can't. I'm going to fail. Please, I'll be kicked out. I was begging, the 6-year-old girl with the bloody knee, finally screaming. Then she sighed. It wasn't a sigh of sadness. It wasn't a sigh of empathy. It was a sigh of pure, unadulterated annoyance. The sound you make when you're in a hurry and you get stuck behind a slow driver. The sound you make when you spill coffee on your shirt. That's what I was. An annoyance. A stain. Listen, she said, and her voice was suddenly very calm. Very clear. The ice was back. Sara deserves the best possible start in her new life. She deserves our help. She paused. Just for a second, just long enough to aim. As for you, you just need to work harder. That's what you're good at, isn't it? Click. She hung up. I sat there, holding the dead phone to my ear. I listened to the dial tone, that flat, empty, final sound. Duh. I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I didn't throw the phone. I felt nothing. The anger was gone. The hurt was gone. The hope was gone. There was just a void, a cold, empty, quiet space. The little girl inside me, the one who had spent 21 years climbing out of her attic room. The one who kept hoping one day, they would finally look up and see her. She died in that phone call. It was over. I was finally, completely, and totally on my own. I was trying to study. I was in the law library. It was 3:00 the morning. I hadn't really slept in 72 hours. I was in the sub-basement, in the stacks, where the old, dusty books nobody ever read were kept. It was silent. I was just a girl in a worn-out sweatshirt, surrounded by books on 19th century tort reform. My head was on an open copy of a textbook. The words were just squiggles. I told myself I would just close my eyes for 1 minute, just one. I woke up to a sharp voice, a voice that did not belong in the sub-basement at 3 a.m. Anna. I jerked up. My heart pounded, my mouth was dry, and there was a line of drool on the page. I'd been asleep for an hour. Professor Eleanor Vance was standing over me. Professor Vance, the youngest ever senior partner at her firm. A woman who taught one class on corporate litigation. Not because she had to, but because she liked to win arguments. She was a legend. She was terrifying. And I was her student. I was mortified. My face was hot with shame. Professor, I'm so sorry, I stammered, trying to wipe the drool off my cheek and the textbook at the same time. I was just reviewing. She didn't look angry. She just looked at me. Her eyes scanned my face. Then she looked down at the table, not just at the book I'd been sleeping on, but at the rest of the table. It was covered in my notes. Meticulous, color-coded, cross-referenced notes. My entire life, reduced to highlighters and index cards. She looked at the notes, then back at me. "You're the best student in my class, Anna," she said. Her voice was quiet, but it cut through the silence. "You have the sharpest mind I've seen in a decade." She leaned a little closer. "But you look like a ghost. What is going on?" I don't know why I told her. Maybe it was the exhaustion. Maybe it was because she hadn't yelled at me. Maybe it was because, for the first time, someone had called me sharp instead of just strong. The truth just fell out. "I have to work, Professor," I whispered. "I'm a night shift paralegal, 11 p.m. to 7 a.m., and I'm a waitress on weekends. I'm trying to save up for the bar prep course." Professor Vance just stared at me. She didn't offer pity. She didn't say, "Oh, you poor thing." She just nodded. Once. Like I was presenting a case. Analyzing the facts. "You're trying to be an attorney," she said, "but you're working yourself to death as a paralegal. It's a waste of your talent." She was quiet for a full minute. I could hear the hum of the fluorescent light above us. "I need a research assistant," she said finally. Her voice was flat. "Business, it's boring work. Data analysis for a paper on securities fraud. It pays less than your 2 jobs combined." She paused, holding my gaze. "But it's real law. Stop doing doc review, Anna. Start using your brain. My office, Monday at 9 a.m. That was the turning point. I quit both jobs. I quit the night shift. I quit the brunch shift. I was poorer. But for the first time in my life, I was sleeping. I worked for Professor Vance. And it was brutal. She was demanding, meticulous. She ripped my first 3 drafts to shreds. She never once called me strong. She called me precise. She called me capable. It was better than any compliment my family had ever given me. 3 months later, I was in her office. She didn't look up from her computer. "There's a scholarship I'm nominating you for," she said. "The Justice Founders Scholarship. Full tuition. Full living stipend. It pays off any existing student debt." My heart stopped. "Professor, I probably don't qualify for something like that." She finally looked up, and her eyes were sharp. "This isn't a normal scholarship, Anna. It wasn't founded by some corporation. It was founded by a former judge. He was a scapegoat, too." I just stared. "His family," she explained, "spent every dime they had on his brother's failed business, leaving him to figure it out. He did. And he created this fund. For the workers, not the displays." She looked right at me. "He saw that in me. I see it in you." The application essay was simple. Describe the personal and financial challenges you've overcome. I didn't write about my feelings. I wrote the facts. The cold attic room, the 5-year-old car, the $2,500, the phone call. I wrote every truth, no emotion, just facts. Professor Vance read it. She nodded once. "This will do." 3 weeks later, the email arrived. I opened it. I'd won. Loans erased, tuition paid, stipend granted. I sat on the floor of my tiny apartment. The struggle was over. I was free. 4 years later, I was valedictorian of my graduating class. And Sara. Sara was still an influencer, posting pictures of brunch, still living off our parents in her downtown apartment. Which brings us back to today, my graduation. I'm at the podium. I can see them. My family, front row center, beaming, holding their phones up, so proud, so ready to post pictures of their daughter, the valedictorian. They think this moment belongs to them. I finish my speech. The applause is warm. I nod, I smile, and I step back. But it's not over. The dean of the law school steps up to the microphone to present the final awards. He's a kind man, with a warm voice that fills the auditorium. He announces my name for the valedictorian medal. My family claps, Helen and Robert looking at each other, so proud. And then the dean says, "I also have the honor of presenting the Justice Founders Scholarship Award." He calls my name again. "This award," he says, his voice booming over the speakers, "is given to the one student who not only demonstrates academic excellence, but who has overcome significant personal and financial hardship to be here." I see my mother, Helen, lean in, her smile widening. She loves this. This is part of the show. The dean continues. "Anna achieved all this. All of it, while working overnight shifts as a paralegal to pay her own way. Without any financial help from her family." The words hang in the air. The silence in the front row is deafening. It is so loud, it's like a physical thing, a hole in the sound of the auditorium. I watch my mother's smile. It doesn't fade, it shatters. It freezes on her face, this horrible, tight grimace. Her skin goes pale. I can see her hand, the one holding her phone, start to shake. My father, Robert, just looks stunned. His proud dad's smile drops. He looks confused, like he's just been told the ceremony is in a different language. He blinks, turning to my mother, as if asking her, "Is that true?" And Sara? Sara just looks lost. She's still clapping, just a little, a few seconds after everyone else has stopped. Confused. Why isn't this the fun part? Their secret. Their lifelong, quiet, insidious neglect. The narrative they had built their entire family around was now public, not yelled by me in anger, but stated as a fact, as a point of honor I had earned in spite of them. The rest of the auditorium, the students who knew my hustle, the professors who knew my work, they all rise to their feet. The applause is thunder, a standing ovation. I've been hired by the top firm in Chicago. I'm leaving next week. I stand there, I look at my family. I look at my mother's shattered face, my father's confusion, my sister's emptiness, and I feel nothing. No anger, No pain, no desire for revenge. Just peace. The cold, quiet, empty space that their phone call had created all those years ago. It's not cold anymore. It's just calm. It's the clean, sterile feeling of a wound that has finally closed. I am free. Afterward, it's chaos. My mother finds me by the reception table. Her voice is a low, vicious hiss. "You embarrassed us, Anna. How could you let them say that?" Not, "Is that how you felt?" Not, "I'm so sorry." Just, "You embarrassed us." My father just mumbles, We did what we thought was best. You were always so strong." The same old excuse. The same old permission slip. Sara just cried. She kept saying, "I don't understand why everyone is upset. It was a party." I don't argue. I don't yell. I don't explain. I just look at my mother, and for the first time, I see her clearly, not as a mother, but just as a small, scared woman, so invested in the show pony, she let the workhorse starve. "I have to go pack," I say. And I walk away. That night, I'm in my new apartment in Chicago. The boxes are everywhere. It smells like fresh paint and cardboard. It's quiet. My phone buzzes. It's the family group chat. A text from my mother. A picture of Sara at a new restaurant. "Family dinner soon?" she texts. "We need to talk about Sara's trip to Bali." As if nothing happened. As if it's just another day. I look at the text. At the picture of my smiling, oblivious sister. I type 2 words. "I'm busy." I exit the group. I block the number. Sometimes, cutting family out isn't cruelty. It's survival. It's the final, necessary, clinical action that saves your life. They didn't see me, so I had to see myself. And I had to choose myself. If you've ever had to make that choice, or if you're the one in your family who's just expected to figure it out, subscribe and join our community. You are not on your own.